Hi everybody, we're in a very special spot today. We're standing here on a hill looking down onto Little Valley, California. And this is where my grandparents spent the majority of their lives. My dad spent his entire life. I was born and raised here. It's kind of cool. I can look off the hill here and see the Bugnuta Club, which is my great-grandfather's bar. And he, to my knowledge, operated that, I believe, even during Prohibition. Everywhere I look is another memory and another experience of something that I did either with my grandparents, my parents, my brothers. I don't know, it's almost kind of hard to talk sitting here thinking about all the emotions that are overwhelming with being in this place. But this is where I wanted to come to start this whole process of who's Quarter Farms, who's Travis Quarter, where'd you come from, what are you all about? This is where it all started. Every single mountain I can see, every single square inch of every meadow, I've been on horseback with my grandfather. And there's a memory of every single rock and tree and knob and water hole and pond. So as I look around, I see all these things that are part of my family's history. I can see the house where my great-grandparents lived. Like I said, I can see the bar where my great-grandfather operated one of his businesses. I see the camp that my grandmother, she had a '69 Dodge Charger, and the back of it was full of tools. And she took care of about 12 cabins here that were filled with lumber workers and railroad workers here in the Little Valley area. And I would occasionally help her drive around with her little Charger. Cool story about my grandma, she was about 5'1", and the steering wheel on a Dodge Charger 69 is a pretty big steering wheel. Well, you could basically see her. She wasn't tall enough to see over the steering wheel. She looked through the steering wheel, and I can see it like today. She always wore a hat, usually a brown one. And she was either going to town to get supplies to feed the cowboys and support my grandfather and that part of the operation, or she was going to town to get supplies to support the cabins that she maintained, as well as doing all the bookwork for the farming operation. And then I can also see the top of the roof of the house that I grew up in here, and the roof of the house that my grandparents grew up in, where I spent the majority of my time. My grandparents lived right across the driveway from my parents, so I was up there as many hours as I could, stayed many nights there, because there I was an only child, right? I didn't have to share attention or limelight or anything with my brothers at my parents' house. And it's just amazing to be able to come 15 miles up the road and see all of those things are still here, the memories, the experiences, the history. And so just quickly, my great-grandfather settled in this area in 1918, and the railroad was going to be built through this area. And so he saw that there was an opportunity, a community to be served. And then on our property off here to the left, there used to be a lumber mill. And so he had a lumber mill community and railroad community to serve. And he had, a restaurant / bar and cabins for housing. And then in my grandfather's generation, he was really into registered quarter horses. His favorite stud was Shugbar, and he had many great horses going to do many things. I believe he had a couple of horses that actually ran barrels in the NFR back in the day when he was doing this. And I, because he was my hero at the time, wanted to spend all my time, so that's all I was into was horses and cattle. We had a crazy amount of freedom here. And having that freedom really had a massive influence on my life. So when you're 10, 11 years old and your grandpa is telling you, to get on a horse and ride 8 or 10 miles out to a given location and expected to find 4 or 5 missing cattle and be back to another given location 3 or 4 hours later, it's an amazing responsibility for young people. Super valuable for me, because I would be by myself for those periods of time. And I was given my instructions and my training, and was expected to make those decisions and figure that stuff out with all the moving dynamics that happen in day-to-day life. And I'm so blessed to have had those experiences, because I believe it's really aided me in moving forward in life, whether it be, as a young adult or coming out of college or trying to take over a business, that learning all those things and having those types of experience at a young age were priceless. And I really just wanted to come here and stand here and breathe the air and stand in front of basically 3 generations of my family.